Hey guys, my name is Matimio, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that can be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for today is, what are your thoughts on DICE giving each class an extra gadget? Do you think that this would improve team play with more team-based gadgets? Well, what it sounds like you're going for is you would like to see the amount of gadgets that each player can hold go up from the standard 2 up to 3. And while you're 100% correct with your assessment, if players had the option to use a third gadget, more people would use the team-oriented ones. The defibs would be used more frequently, a lot more support players would be running the ammo boxes, simply because they have access to that third slot. That being said, though, this almost completely ruins the subclass system that DICE was clearly trying to make into Battlefield 4, and I don't necessarily think that this would be the best of ideas. Because they restrict you on the amount of gadgets that you can use, it forces you to pick a role for that kit. If you're playing as the engineer, you need to decide what playstyle you're going to be. Are you going to be someone who's amazing at taking out vehicles? Well, then you should use the RPG and the mine. Do you want to be someone who can help out your teammates' vehicles, but also have some firepower as well? Then the SMA and the repair torch is going to be more up your rally. It's these decisions that DICE wanted you to make because it creates subclasses in all of the kits. They could have gone with what they did back in Battlefield 2, where they gave us like 8 classes. You couldn't customize those classes very much, but the dynamic and the diversity came from that wide variety of kits to choose from. It's basically that, but now condensed down into 4, but because they make you pick and choose between those 2 gadgets, where we do get these subclasses. As soon as you throw in a third gadget into the mix, all that goes out the window. Every engineer is going to be able to run mines, RPG, and repair torch. Every single assault is going to be able to run M320, medbag, and the defibs. Yes, they're going to be running more of the team-oriented gadgets. You can definitely make that argument. But at the same time, it completely ruins that subclass system that DICE was creating for Battlefield 4. But the best argument that I can make against adding in a third gadget slot is imagine the amount of explosive spam. This would give support players the option to run the XM25 Airburst, the Mortar, and the UCAV. If you just shivered a little bit, I don't blame you. I just described hell on earth. That would be a nightmare to fight against. Yeah, more support players would be running with the ammo bag, but you're gonna come across more people that are running with these ridiculous loadouts that are balanced or relatively balanced right now because they are only limited to 2, but you add in that third slot and it's just gonna be ridiculous. More people are gonna die to the M320, C4 kills. Claymores are gonna be used way more frequently. You expect to get killed by Claymores a lot more often than you are right now. And while I get where you're coming from, I mean, who wouldn't want to have more team-oriented gadgets in the possession of Battlefielders? That's going to facilitate teamwork. But at the same time, the system that is in place right now balances out the ridiculousness of what would ensue if a third gadget was added into the game. And it's for that very reason why I would not want this added into Battlefield 4. The next question for today comes from Luke, and it is, what do you think about having throwing knives or even able to throw your knife? What are your thoughts? Now, I always knew that this question was going to be asked someday because I don't necessarily have a problem with throwing knives. Some of the Battlefield community right now is like, where are you going with this, Matt? What are you talking about? Throwing knives sounds like the worst idea ever. Don't worry, I'm getting there. The concept of throwing knives, I don't have a problem with. I mean, this is a video game. Video games are meant to be fun, and I know that in past titles, I think in Call of Duty they had throwing knives, I've had moments where I've run out of all of my rounds in my primary weapon, ran out of all my rounds in my secondary, a guy rounds the corner, and I just ninja star the guy in the face. It's really satisfying when you're actually able to pull that off. The problem with this, though, is that it's very arcadey. Once again, I realize it's a little absurd to say that because it's a video game, but it is arcadey. And so the question we need to ask ourselves Is this a path that we want to go down for Battlefield, and would it just deviate a little bit too far from the military shooter that DICE has created? I'm under no illusion that Battlefield is a military simulator shooter. This is not the Arma series by any stretch of the imagination, but they've always gone for a level of authenticity, and so I don't know, because I've never been in the military, but I don't think they ever teach their soldiers to throw their knives at an enemy. And throwing a knife at someone is not easy. I mean, you can do it, but to get the pointy end to stick in the target and to get it where you want it to go doesn't sound like the easiest thing to pull off. I'm sure it's happened in real life. I'm sure there's been a situation where a guy panics, all he has left is his knife, and he threw it at someone and it killed his enemy, and that was the only way he was able to survive. I'm sure that has happened, but something that comes standard, I'm not 100% sold on it. And so we really have to ask ourselves, is this something that we want to add into the game? I'm sure it would be fun. I really wouldn't have any qualms if it was added, because I'm sure it would be a fun mechanic, but does it break that authenticity that DICE is going for? I also realized that they're adding in a bow. A bow is also not something that I think is standard in militaries, so I'd like to get your guys' opinion. Do you think that this would be a cool addition into the game? Do you think it deviates a little bit too far for the feel of Battlefield and has no place in the franchise? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. The next question for today comes from Lewis, and it is, what do you think about players receiving points when enemies are killed while affected by a tactical grenade? For instance, if I threw a smoke grenade into a crowd of enemies and my squad cleared them out, I would receive plus 10 or 25 points for tactical assist or something. I'm surprised that this isn't already a thing in Battlefield 4. I mean, you get points for everything in this game. You spot someone, 25 points. You suppress someone, you don't even hit someone. You just kind of spray in their general location, you get 10 points. Why wouldn't you get that for throwing a tactical grenade in the area? I mean, if I flashbang a group of enemies and I don't, shoot at them, maybe I needed to reload, but my entire squad rolls on in and takes all of them out, well, I definitely assisted them in those kills. Maybe they would have retaliated and killed all of my teammates. Who knows the circumstances? But regardless, I definitely assisted in getting those kills for my team, and you would think that DICE would reward you for that. The smoke grenade, on the other hand, is going to be a little bit more complicated. Personally, I've never heard of someone throwing smoke into a group of enemies to disorient them. I'm sure it has some value. Maybe I should try it the next time on the battlefield, but the reason why I use the smoke grenade, and I think the vast majority of the players also would fall into this category, is they use it to cover their tracks. If they want to run out in the open for a couple of seconds, they'll throw a few smoke grenades on the ground to make sure that the enemy doesn't have a clear line of sight on them. Maybe if they're also running the Iron V, they'll use it so that the enemy has no idea where they're getting shot from and they can get some easy kills that way. But to try and quantify assists or using the smoke tactically to reward someone points for that is not going to be easy. Maybe you could reward them points if their teammate runs through the smoke. I mean, that sounds a little exploity. I mean, you could get a bunch of friends to run through your smoke to get as many points as you possibly could, but that is one way to tackle the problem. Maybe if a teammate shoots through a smoke and gets a kill, then you get the assist, but I don't even know how the engine would be able to register that you shot through someone's smoke. I mean, maybe it's possible, maybe they're able to do it, but hopefully you can see why it would be very tricky to add a point value to using the smoke grenades. But overall, I think that your idea is a fantastic one, especially for the flash grenades. They already buffed them in the most recent update. They are a lot better than they are right now, but it would be nice if there was a small incentive for using this to assist your team in securing some kills. The next question comes from Dario, and it is, what do you think about the idea of giving support/engineer classes a sticky bomb as a gadget that immobilizes vehicles for a short period of time? It will also make players who play aggressively in the tank/LAV think twice before they rush into an unknown without infantry supports. Well, it is an interesting idea, but I don't necessarily think that it needs to be added into Battlefield 4. If you think about it, the engineer already has the RPG, and if you hit an enemy vehicle, at least at the right angle, you're already gonna immobilize them. If you get the booty shot, it's gonna do 50% of the enemy tank's health, and it also immobilizes them flat out, like they are not getting out of that situation alive. And so, at least for the engineer, it just wouldn't make sense to add in a sticky bomb that would immobilize them? Are you saying that it would do damage? I guess I don't really get exactly what you're looking for. For the support class, I guess I could see this being a little bit more viable because I'm assuming maybe you can throw this a short distance, but you can also throw the C4 a short distance. I mean, they have C4. That is the main thing at taking out vehicles, and if you're able to get close enough to toss the sticky bomb, I'm assuming you'd be able to get close enough with the C4 as well to just flat out destroy the vehicle, really not even needing to immobilize it because they'll be dead at that point. If it's something like the recon balls or a grenade that you can really throw far, then maybe that would be a better solution, especially for the support class, because then that would possibly allow them to close the gap and throw the C4 on the tank. That could be one way to go about it, but I really just don't think that this is necessarily needed in the game right now. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. But until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.